Picture this, right at the beginning of everything. It's not this quiet, gentle unfolding, it's a cosmic explosion. From the primordial left, you have this line of pure, searing red fire. It's all judgment, all restriction. And it smashes up against its opposite, this endless ocean of pure giving coming from the right. The conflict between them is so intense, so fundamental, that it literally ignites a chasm, a whole spiritual dimension born from the raw energy of separation. The Zohar actually describes this exact moment, the ground zero for all conflict.
What the Zoar is telling us here, this is absolutely foundational. It's saying that before there was a physical world, there was a spiritual argument. And this wasn't just some disagreement, it was the head-on collision of the two most basic energies in the universe. And from that fire of anger, that raw, unfiltered energy of their dispute, the very potential for a certain kind of reality was born. A reality of pure, painful separation, where connection is basically impossible. This is the spiritual state that the mystics call Gehinnom. So right away, this brings up a huge question that really echoes through every part of our lives. Is all conflict just destructive? Does every argument we have just lead us closer to this spiritual black hole of separation? Or is there another way? Is it possible that some disputes, some arguments are actually constructive, that they're the very engine that builds worlds? Well, that's what we're going to dive into in this explainer, to really explore the cosmic engineering that separates a total system crash like Korach's rebellion from the sacred world-building synergy of, say, Hillel and Shammai. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to break this all down into 6 parts. We'll kick things off with that primal rupture, the blueprint of conflict itself. Then we'll get a clear definition of the fire of Gehinnom. From there, we'll see how this plays out with the ultimate system crash, Korach's rebellion. And then we get to the solution, the third way, or the middle line. We'll see this in its most perfected form with Hillel and Shammai. And finally, we'll bring it all home and talk about how to engineer this kind of harmony in your world. Okay, so to really get a handle on any disagreement, whether it's a fight with your spouse or a global conflict, we have to go deep. We have to understand the spiritual architecture of the universe itself. The Kabbalists teach that reality is built on this foundation of tension between opposing but equally divine energies called Sephirot. And the first two really set the stage for everything that follows. They represent the most fundamental polarity you can imagine. So, this slide lays it out perfectly. On day 1 of creation, you get the emergence of a right column, the Sephirah of Chesed. Think of it as pure, unbounded giving, infinite love, just constant expansion. The metaphor is water, right? It's formless, it flows, it just wants to cover everything. Then, on day 2, the system generates its total opposite, the left column, the Sephirah of Gevurah. This is strength, judgment, restriction, definition. The metaphor here is fire. It consumes, it defines, it sets very clear boundaries. Now, here is a wild clue, and it's hidden right in the plain text of Genesis. On every single day of creation, the Torah ends with the phrase, "And God saw that it was good," except for one. Day 2. The Zohar and other mystical texts like the Sefer Shekel HaKodesh zoom in on this and ask, why? What happened? And their answer is just stunning. It's because the job wasn't finished. The whole system was stuck in this state of unresolved conflict. You had the infinite water of Chesed and the consuming fire of Gevurah just locked in this cosmic stalemate. The system was totally unbalanced, unstable, and because of that, it wasn't good yet. So let's look at the mechanics here. Let's see what happens when these two forces are just left to their own devices. The right side, Chesed, wants to give everything to everyone all the time, no boundaries. The left side, Gevurah, wants to define, judge, and restrict. It sees nothing but boundaries. So if you just let them go at it, they basically cancel each other out. Chesed without Gevurah is just a meaningless flood. It has no shape, no vessel to be held in. And Gevurah without Chesed? Well, that's a terrifying, dark, consuming void. It's pure judgment with zero love, a spiritual black hole. The Pardes Raminim puts it so beautifully. Wisdom, which is from the restrictive left, can't shine unless it's clothed in the loving kindness of the right. So what happens to all this raw, unchecked energy from the left side, this force of pure Gevurah that just refuses to mix with its opposite? Well, it doesn't just vanish. It actually coalesces into its own spiritual dimension. And this, right here, is the mystical origin of Gehinnom. And no, we're not talking about a physical place with pitchforks. It's a state of being. Gehinnom is basically the logical, spiritual result of radical separation. The Sha'arei Ora actually calls Gevurah the Great Fire, a force so intense that even angels get burned by it. When this force isn't balanced by Chesed, it creates a reality defined by what the mystics call din kasha,
harsh, unmitigated judgment. In that state, everything is separate from everything else. There's no connection, no empathy, no integration. It is the ultimate expression of a consciousness that absolutely refuses to make room for anything else.
And this is the exact point where this cosmic principle becomes incredibly personal. This isn't just some abstract theology, it's spiritual physics. Anytime we get into a relationship, an argument, or even a debate online with that absolute conviction of, I am 100% right and you are 100% wrong, we are actually channeling that raw energy of Gevurah. In that moment, we're literally creating our own little pocket of Gehinnom, a reality where our goal isn't connection or finding truth, but simply wiping the opposing view off the map. This brings us to the absolute perfect human case study of this energy in action. If you want to see what happens when a person or a whole group of people decides to channel the raw, unmitigated, unbalanced fire of the cosmic left, well, you don't have to look any further than the biblical story of Korach. The sages actually have a technical term for this kind of destructive argument. It's called a majloket she'ena l'shem shamayim, a dispute that is not for the sake of heaven. Its defining feature is a desire for total domination. It's not about searching for a higher truth, it's a battle for ego, for power. And crucially, it lacks this concept called hitkelut, which means inclusion or integration. It cannot and will not make any space for the other side's point of view. Its only goal is the complete nullification of the other. Now, the Pardes Rimonim maps these spiritual energies right onto the characters in the story. And when you see it this way, the whole conflict just becomes crystal clear. You've got Korach, a Levite, who is rooted in the Sephirah of Gevurah, the left side. He embodies challenge, judgment, division. He's arguing against Aaron, the high priest, who represents Chesed, unbounded love, peace, the right side. And who's stuck in the middle trying to create balance? Moses. Moses is the archetype of Tiferet, the middle line, the very principle that's supposed to harmonize these two extremes. The entire cosmic drama is playing out right there in the desert. The end of this story is as predictable as it is terrifying. Korach's dispute is based on nothing but pure separation. He completely rejects the balancing principle of Moses. He wants to eradicate the principle of Aaron. He aligns himself 100% with the spiritual frequency of unmitigated Gevurah. So what happens? The physical world literally reconfigures itself to match his spiritual state. Moses says God will create a Bria Yifra, a new creation, and the earth opens up and swallows them whole. This wasn't just some convenient punishment. It was the physical world manifesting the spiritual reality Korach had chosen. He built a pocket of Gehinnom, and reality just collapsed in on him.
But this is not the end of the story. Thankfully, a system that's only built on fire and water, on judgment and love, is just unstable. Like we saw, creation didn't end on that conflicted day 2. It couldn't. This system desperately needed a solution, a third way to resolve this constant conflict.
So along comes day 3 of creation, and it introduces this third principle. And this principle doesn't destroy the right or the left. It doesn't pick a side. Instead, it steps into the space between them and harnesses their tension, weaving them together into something functional, something stable. This is the middle line, and it is the absolute secret to resolving any and every dispute. This mediating Sephirah is called Tiferet. It's often translated as beauty or harmony, but its other names tell you even more. Emet, which is truth, and Shalom, which is peace. Think about it. What is real truth? It's not just the right side's opinion or the left side's opinion. Truth is the beautiful, harmonious balance that actually includes both. And what is peace? It's not just the absence of conflict. It's the active synthesis of opposing forces into a functioning reality. Tiferet's entire job is to take the endless giving of Chesed and the harsh judgment of Gevurah and create a world. And this brings us to one of the most beautiful metaphors in all of Kabbalah, again from the Pardes Rimonim. The Hebrew word for heaven is Shamayim. Why? Well, it turns out it's a composite word. It's made of Esh, which means fire, and Mayim, which means water. Heaven, Shamayim, is by its very definition the place where fire and water can coexist in harmony. This is why a constructive argument is called one for the sake of heaven, l'shem shamayim. It's an argument where the goal isn't to prove that fire is better than water, but to create a shamayim, a higher, more complex reality where both are essential. So if Korah is our model for a dispute that just creates a chasm, who's the model for a dispute that creates a shamayim, a heaven? For that, we turn to probably the most famous intellectual rivals in all of Jewish history, the great sages Hillel and Shammai. And the parallels to that cosmic architecture are just perfect. Beit Shammai, the house of Shammai, consistently embodied the principle of Gevurah, the left side. Their legal rulings were almost always severe, strict, restrictive. Shammai himself was the head of the court, the Av Beit Din, the judge. On the other side, you have Beit Hillel, the house of Hillel. They embodied Chesed, the right side. Their rulings were lenient, gentle, expansive. Hillel was the Nasi, the prince. Their arguments were absolutely legendary, covering every aspect of life, and they were fierce. But their goal was never to destroy the other side. It was to use their opposition to reveal the complete, multifaceted truth. The story goes that for 3 years, they just debated and debated, each side claiming, the law is according to us. Finally, the Talmud tells us, a voice came down from heaven and made this truly radical statement. Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and these are the words of the living God. I mean, this is mind-bending. The heavenly court didn't say, Hillel, you're right, Shammai, you're wrong. It said that both of their opposing perspectives, the lenient one and the strict one, the expansive and the restrictive, are both, at the same time, divine truth. They're two valid facets of a much bigger reality that we can't fully see from down here.
Okay, but that brings up the obvious question, right? If both are true, why does the law almost always follow the opinion of Hillel? The Talmud gives a few reasons, but the deepest one is this: because they practiced hitkalut. Yes, they were gentle and humble, but more than that, whenever they would teach a subject, they would first state and explain the opinion of their opponents, Beit Shammai, before they even got to their own opinion. They didn't just tolerate the opposition, they integrated it. They made space for the fire of Shammai's Gevurah inside their own system of water, and by doing that, they created a more complete, balanced, and stable system, one that leaned towards Chesed, but that was tested and forged in the fire of Gevurah's challenge. They built a Shamayim. So we've traveled from the very origins of cosmic conflict all the way down to the Talmudic academies. Now, let's bring this all home. Let's translate this ancient wisdom into some practical, modern analogies that we can actually use to engineer a little more harmony in our own worlds. In modern terms, you can think of this as two completely different kinds of video games. Korach's type of argument is a player versus player deathmatch. It's a zero-sum game. For me to win, you have to lose. You have to be eliminated. My victory requires your annihilation. The game is over when only one player is left standing. Hillel and Shammai, though, they were playing a co-op puzzle game. Imagine a game where one player has the power to create fire and the other can control water. To solve the puzzle and get to the next level, they have to work together. Their opposing abilities aren't a source of destruction, they're the source of creative tension that becomes the very engine of their progress. Or, if you're more of a tech person, think of it in terms of computer engineering. Korach's approach is a critical system failure. It's like two pieces of code stuck in an infinite loop, each one trying to overwrite the other, which inevitably leads to data corruption and a total system crash, the spiritual blue screen of death. The dispute of Hillel and Shammai, on the other hand, is like productive parallel processing. You've got two different processor cores, a Chesed core and a Gevurah core. They work on different parts of the same problem at the same time. Their processes are opposite, but their goal is the same. And then they integrate their results into a single, elegant, and optimized solution that neither one could have ever reached on its own. So when you boil it all down, it really comes to a fundamental choice. Whenever we engage in a dispute, what are we actually trying to build? The next time you find yourself in a disagreement, at work, at home, maybe even just inside your own head, ask yourself this question. Is my goal here to win, to prove the other side wrong, to completely annihilate their perspective? Or is my goal to integrate, to learn, to use this tension to build something new, something higher? Are you digging a chasm of separation, or are you creating a space where fire and water can coexist, a little piece of heaven? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Part S. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.